There he is.
There he is. I'm gonna go get him.
Dylan, get him.
Wait, no, watch. No, watch. I'll do it. Gilly, get out of here. Fuck.
Mine.
Damn it!
We all helped.
That's not the guy I saw. The guy I saw was a support.
There's just a fucking dude crouched on the other side of this, and he's just aiming at me. He's like, please don't see me.
I haven't played Battlefield 5 yet, and most likely neither of you. I mean, I personally like to stay cautiously optimistic about games I haven't played before, and honestly, and I think this is a fact, but maybe you could disagree with me, so should you. People have either misheard or misconstrued my opinions about criticizing games before they release, but I'll just set the record straight here. The fact is that I'm 100% fine with criticizing games before you've had a chance to play them, but it has to be done so with a sense of hope. I'll just give you a little example. I think X could ruin the next Battlefield game, but we'll have to see when it comes out. That's my thought process about games that haven't come out. Certain things look like they're gonna make it or break it all the time from an outsider's perspective, but until I get my hands on it, I won't know. And after I get my hands on it, I like to at least give it a month before I tear it a new one. In my opinion, this mentality is far more fruitful in the long run, because not playing a game is a good indication that you don't know shit about it, good or bad. So obviously I can't show Battlefield 5 gameplay here, so here's some Battlefield 1 gameplay you're seeing run in the background. I'm not very good at Battlefield 1, but I tried my hand down some iron sight sniping, and I had fun, so that's all that matters, right? So from what I've seen when it comes to multiplayer matches of Battlefield 5, is that it looks to be very chaotic, and just in the few multiplayer matches I've seen on one map. The thing is that that's a red flag to me because of how much I dislike the clusterfucky nature of many Battlefield 1 matches. Not every Battlefield 1 match was a clusterfuck, but a lot of them were, and it was a big reason I didn't like it, and lots of other guys that reviewed Battlefield 1 said the same thing. So yeah, it's a red flag because of how much I dislike the clustery nature of Battlefield 1, but I've seen very little of Battlefield 5's multiplayer. We all have seen very little of Battlefield 5's multiplayer, so I'll wait and see how the rest of the maps and modes play out in the future. I'm sure they're all gonna play differently in some way or another, so we can, you know, hope for that. A big problem I had with Battlefield 1 is that the guns had low ammunition. Say it with me now, low ammunition, lots of spread, lots of kick, and just, it felt bad because then the time to kill wasn't fast even if you landed every shot anyway. The gunplay felt like a chore, it felt like an unintuitive chore, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But that's up to personal preference. The fact is that I think DICE heard people's complaints because from what I've seen, the gunplay looks very solid in Battlefield 5. From what I've heard from Westy and Level Cap and other Battlefield YouTubers like Jack Frags, is that wherever your sight is, that is where your bullet is gonna go. So there's no more of this visual recoil where your gun is kicking, but the sight is where the bullet is. It doesn't line up with where the bullet is specifically. You know, it's kind of hard to explain. But what I like is that the weapons, from what Level Cap and other people have said, is that the guns seem to have traded that random spread for more recoil. I like this change, because it should, in theory, on paper, in concept, it should reduce the random aspects of gunfights. We all have our different opinions when it comes to gunplay in Battlefield and Call of Duty and Fortnite and Halo and whatever, but I think less random in the case with Battlefield, I think that's a good thing. But the recoil is still very high, so no, you can't just tap fire people at, you know, very long ranges. The game is visually striking like every Battlefield game has been since Bad Company 1, but I do have a problem with the high contrast nature of the whole presentation. From the gameplay I saw, it looked really hard to pick people out of certain dark areas. And I'm thinking this while I'm playing, I'm wondering if it's just kind of my fuzzy eyesight or something, but no, Level Cap confirmed this in one of his latest videos. He said seeing people in dark rooms and in dark areas was really hard because of how high the contrast was. I had that issue a little bit in Battlefield 1, it almost looks like it's been turned up here. Maybe that's just the nature of that map, we'll have to see. If people want more contrast, they can just turn up the contrast on their TVs and monitors. DICE, you really don't have to crank it up for them. So no premium pass. In case you guys don't know, Battlefield 5 has free DLC content similar to how Titanfall 2 released it. Some people have said it's going to be too far and too few and not very good, and that's a possibility, but at the same time, no premium pass means that the community doesn't get split up over time, and if they add at least 10 maps into the game, that's still a lot of shit to do. And I'm almost positive by the end of the life cycle, they will at least have added 6 to 10 maps. And hopefully everyone gets guns as well, and we don't have to gamble for them or do anything weird with microtransactions. The whole lack of a premium pass thing is good as long as they don't cut any corners in other places to compensate. I've made a whole video about that before called What's the Cost of Free DLC? Now when it comes to the campaign, I hope that the war stories are epic and they have less generic gameplay. Like, the stories of Battlefield 1 were great in the cutscenes, but when you played them, they were just mindless, shitty, boring shooter levels. I'm sorry, but like, what the hell? It was stupid and repetitive. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't like any of the gameplay. It didn't have any charm from like Call of Duty or Medal of Honor or any other war game campaign kind of thing, you know? It wasn't like COD 2 or Medal of Honor Frontline. It just felt lazy. Like they put all their work into like these really cool cutscenes and characters, but gameplay wise, fuck it. Co-op returning has me excited. I hope the co-op mode is fun and isn't just like Battlefield 3 where it's like, oh, you can do this little handful of missions and then fuck off. Going back to the gameplay of the multiplayer, I like the fact that you can build things. People have compared it to Fortnite, but that's just a meme. Honestly, the building aspect could be really cool, but I have to get my hands on it before I see if it's harming or helping the game. From what I've seen, it looks to only be adding on in a good way, but we've been fooled before. We've seen things that look cool in theory, and then when they're in the game, you're like, hey, this doesn't need to be here. I can already imagine myself about to snipe somebody from a distance, and then they just fucking build one of the little sandbag walls right in front of them, and the bullet hits that instead, and I'm gonna like throw something. There's so much more about Battlefield 5, and you can get that from so many better YouTubers, so linked in the description, I will show you guys the major info dump. That's the link to the major info dump. You guys can get excited by reading that. You also could criticize it, whatever you want, but it's the reason I'm excited. It's a lot of cool and interesting features, and that's kind of what was missing, for me at least, when it came to Battlefield 1. Elephant in the room, there's women in Battlefield 5, and I couldn't care less, but let's talk about this for a minute because it is important. The thing is, there's a rumor going around that, and my subscribers have told me this, where you can choose to turn off customization for everyone. So if you don't want to see people's cosmetic choices, their gender choices, their face paints, their weapon skins, or whatever, you can flip a switch and you'll just have the most, for lack of a better term, realistic feeling experience. Like, ugh. Thing is Battlefield 5 is historical fiction, and it's gonna have a lot of crazy gameplay elements that are nothing like real life, and they will detach me more so than people's cosmetic choices. I don't look at people's cosmetics in the middle of battles, but I do understand why people don't like it, and I respect why they don't like it, because in a way, I don't either, or I might not in certain situations. So yeah, that switch would be nice for everyone. Maybe it sounds like I'm trying to, you know, not just sit on the fence, but shove a fence board up my ass, but really what I'm trying to say is, I see why some people don't like all the crazy cosmetics. And I don't think it's because of any sort of bigotry. I honestly think it's like, yeah, weird face paints and weird looking characters and whatever. Yeah, no, if you don't want that, you don't want that, and you should be able to turn that off. Me personally, I don't mind historical inaccuracy for the sake of player agency and what essentially is, and is, historical fiction within a competitive video game context, okay? What I could find is that, you know, when you have women in active duty by country, just in modern terms, it's 14% in USA, 10% in Russia, the PLA in China is only 7.5% women, the UK is only 9%, and to be honest, yeah, those are small numbers, and those are modern, those are current numbers, those have nothing to do with World War II. So I understand why you don't maybe want to see that in a World War II game. But the thing is people like customization. Customization sells. And when it comes to just the player numbers on Xbox, and this was taken in 2016, the player genders of Xbox account owners are 58% male and 42% female. That was also taken around the time that Microsoft revealed that there were 59 million Xbox gamers. You do the math on that, that's 24,780,000 female gamers on Xbox alone. That doesn't account for PS4 or Steam, this is just Xbox. And if only a quarter of them played shooter games like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, and Overwatch, that's over 6,195,000 female gamers playing shooters on Xbox. That's a lot of sales. In fact, if you times that number by $60, you're making over $371,700,000. So that's just a quarter of the female population as of 2016 on Xbox. That's over $300 million. Now, I don't want to generalize. In fact, I hate the fact that the Battlefield fans that don't like this customization are being categorized or generalized as being sexist assholes. I don't like that. But if I was going to generalize for the sake of our argument, this is where the edges of my thoughts are going, I'm guessing that a big reason girls are playing more Rainbow Six, more Overwatch, more Call of Duty, more Halo, is because those games allow them to play as female characters. I run into girls in Rainbow Six and Overwatch and Call of Duty. I run into girls in GTA. I run into girls in games where they can play as girls. I don't think I've ever met a female Battlefield player, but that's kind of circumstantial and nobody uses game chat in Battlefield anyway. And occasionally in Battlefield I do see some gamer tags that say like gamer girl or something, and maybe it's probably a guy. It's probably a guy. So if you took a quarter of the female population on Xbox and sold them Battlefield 5, you'd make over $300 million. It's rough math, it's simple, it's not how things would work in real life, but that's just to give you an idea as why they want to market towards women. That's why they're marketing it as historical fiction. I still think you should be able to turn off people's character customization if you don't want to see it because it ruins your World War II immersion. That's fine, I respect that, go for it. So that's my opinion about Battlefield 5. And I'm excited to play it. I really am. It is a tricky business getting excited for games these days, isn't it? There's always some sort of controversy around it. There's always some sort of blind hate or blind fandom, and honestly, I just hope we get a good shooter, a good Battlefield game that I play for a long time to come. And maybe that's a tall order, but it doesn't have to compete with my memories of Bad Company and Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. It doesn't have to compete with those memories. It has to make new ones, and hopefully it can do that. So here's to Battlefield 5. I hope it does well. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. What are you most excited for? What are you most mad about? What do you want to see them add? What do you want to see them take away? I'm excited to hear from you guys, and try to keep the comment section civil. We're talking about a video game after all. It's not life and death. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when I see ya. Goodbye.